welcome back to the Podcast Playground. Our newest podcast is The Best Podcast.
Join Jay Carter and Mivita Best on The Best Podcast, where the dynamic duo brings you their insider secrets to everything wonderful. Now Jay and me dive deep into the top 5 everything, from the latest cell phones to affordable wines that won't break the bank.
So tell a friend, you've found The Best Podcast,
where every recommendation is a gem waiting to be uncovered. Tune in weekly for your dose of excellence.
Let's be honest for a second. You probably already have a smart speaker sitting on your kitchen counter.
Oh, yeah, most people do at this point.
Right, and maybe a few of those color-changing bulbs in the living room. So you aren't completely paralyzed by the concept of a smart home anymore?
Definitely not. It's pretty mainstream.
But if you're like most people tuning in right now, you're likely frustrated because your house isn't actually, smart yet.
No, not at all.
Right now, it's just this collection of gadgets that function as a giant, incredibly expensive, voice-activated remote control.
Exactly. I mean, having to pull out your smartphone, unlock it, find and open a specific manufacturer's app, and then tap a screen just to turn off a reading lamp.
That's exhausting.
It is.
Yeah.
That is not automation. In a lot of ways, it's actually a regression from just, flipping a standard wall switch.
Which is exactly why we're doing this deep dive. Our mission today isn't to walk you through basic beginner setups. We've combed through all the 2026 buyer's guides, the latest tech industry white papers, and those really hardcore home automation subreddits.
Oh, the subreddits are where the real truth is.
Seriously. We went through all of it to extract the definitive top 5 smart home devices that actually bridge that gap between manual remote control and true ambient intelligence. We want to look at how to make your home actually think for itself.
And to get there, we really have to start by solving the fragmentation problem. Building a connected space requires a robust foundation, or else you just end up with, a dozen different ecosystems that totally refuse to speak to one another.
Right.
We need a central brain.
Yeah, I like to think of the smart home hub less like a brain and more like a UN translator.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, because its entire job is getting a bunch of devices that speak completely different proprietary languages to, agree on turning down the thermostat and locking the front door at the exact same time.
Right.
And looking at the current landscape, the Amazon Echo Show 5, the 3rd generation specifically, seems to be the sheer brute force winner for compatibility.
Yeah.
I mean, it has a massive catalog. It connects with over 140,000 different devices.
It really is the utility player, yeah. But if we are talking about actual intelligence, the Google Nest Hub Max is where the architecture gets really interesting right now.
Okay, how so?
Well, it uses Google's Gemini AI to handle natural language processing. So instead of listening for those rigid kind of robotic syntactical triggers like turn dash on dash, living dash, room dash light.
Ugh, the worst.
Right. Gemini actually parses intent. It understands context.
Right, because historically, if you slightly misspoke a command, the old voice assistants would just give you that dreaded, I don't understand error.
Precisely. And that's because older models were essentially just running simple if-then scripts. But Gemini is utilizing large language models to infer what you mean based on, the time of day, the room you're currently standing in, and even the device you are looking at. Yeah, in recent head-to-head tech evaluations, it correctly processed 93% of conversational commands. It really represents a shift from making the human learn the machine's language to, making the machine learn the human's language.
But there's a trade-off there that we can't really ignore, which is the data processing side of things.
Yeah, the privacy aspect.
Exactly. If I want a truly frictionless smart home, I don't necessarily want every single command compressed, send out to a cloud server farm in Virginia, parsed by an algorithm and bounced back to my router just to, turn on my coffee maker.
Oh, the latency alone is annoying.
It is. Not to mention the privacy implications of cloud processing all the audio inside your home.
Which is honestly the primary reason the Apple HomeKit ecosystem, usually run through devices like the HomePod, has gained such a massive foothold with power users. Apple enforces a strict local processing mandate.
And the speed difference there is instantly noticeable, right?
Night and day.
Because the command never leaves your local area network, the latency drops from a half-second round trip to, mere milliseconds. The light turns on the exact instant you finish your sentence. Plus, it uses end-to-end encryption.
It does, but For the listener who wants to take local control to the absolute extreme, the consensus among the real Tinkerer community is a platform called Home Assistant Green.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that pop up in the sources.
Yeah. It is completely open source, fully self-hosted, and requires zero cloud connectivity. You basically plug it directly into your router, and it acts as a localized server. And it has over 2,500 integrations.
The only hesitation I've always had with investing heavily in a central hub, whether it's Google, Apple, or Home Assistant, is vendor lock-in.
Oh, absolutely.
Historically, picking a platform meant you could only buy hardware certified for that specific walled garden. But this new Matter standard has finally hit critical mass. And from what I understand, Matter isn't just another, marketing certification badge. It fundamentally changes the networking protocol using something called Thread.
Yes. Thread is the real quiet revolution here. I mean, traditional smart devices use Wi-Fi, which is incredibly power hungry and relies on a single point of failure.
Your router?
Exactly, your router. If your router goes down, your whole house goes dumb. Thread, however, is a low-power IPv6-based mesh network.
So wait, the devices themselves become the network infrastructure?
Exactly. Every Matter-certified device you plug into the wall, like a smart plug or a light switch, acts as a Thread router. They communicate directly with one another, bouncing the signal all across the house.
Oh, that's wild.
So if one device unplugs, the network instantly self-heals and just routes the signal around it. And because Matter is universally supported by Apple, Google, and Amazon, you could have like a Nest Hub in the kitchen and an Apple HomePod in the bedroom, and they can simultaneously control the exact same Matter-certified smart plug over that local Thread network.
The UN translator finally got everyone to agree on a universal language.
I love that. Okay, so we have our foundational network in place. The next step is moving from the brain to the nervous system.
But climate control? Yes, we need to look at climate control, which is basically the one category of smart devices that actively pays you back in energy savings.
It really is. The smart thermostat is where you see the most immediate return on investment. The Nest Learning thermostat has been the legacy pick for years, right? Because it builds those predictive algorithms based on your manual adjustments.
Right.
But looking at the current automation forums, power users are increasingly pivoting to the ecobee Smart Thermostat Premium.
And the primary reason for that shift seems to be the remote sensors, right?
Yeah.
Because a major flaw in traditional central heating is that the thermostat only knows the temperature of the hallway where it's installed.
Yeah, which is usually the most useless place for it.
Exactly. If you have a drafty bedroom at the opposite end of the house, it doesn't matter what the hallway thermostat says, you're still freezing.
Right. So ecobee solves this by decoupling the temperature reading from the main head unit. You can place a small wireless sensor in that drafty bedroom, and you literally tell the system, hey, between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., only heat the house based on the temperature in this specific room.
It's essentially retrofitting zone control into older single-zone HVAC systems. That's huge. But speaking of older homes, what about houses that don't even have central air? If you're relying on old-school radiators, you're usually, left out of the smart climate conversation entirely.
Not anymore, actually. The engineering solution for this is fascinating. There's this device, the Aquara Smart Radiator Thermostat E1.
Okay.
And it physically attaches to your existing radiator valves.
Wait, really? Just right onto the old valve?
Yep. It uses a motorized pin to manually adjust the hot water flow room by room. But what makes it incredibly intelligent is how it utilizes sensor data. Well, for instance, it can detect a sudden, steep temperature gradient that doesn't match the normal heating curve of the room. It interprets that sudden drop as an open window, and it instantly shuts down the radiator in that specific room, so you aren't paying to, heat the neighborhood.
Oh, that's brilliant. But to push back on climate control in general, even with the window detection, a lot of these systems still rely heavily on scheduling. And, a rigid schedule is essentially just an assumption about how your day is going to go.
Yeah, life rarely follows a schedule.
Exactly. If I leave work early or decide to work from a coffee shop, the house is just blindly heating or cooling in completely empty space.
Which is exactly why advanced users bypass schedules entirely in favor of geofencing.
Geofencing is brilliant. I love this concept. Instead of relying on a clock, you draw a virtual perimeter around your house on a map, usually a few miles wide.
Mm-hmm.
And then the smart home hub ping tracks the physical GPS location of your smartphone.
Yes, and it goes even deeper than just in or out of the zone.
Right.
Yeah, the most advanced integrations use that GPS data to calculate your current drive time and traffic. Then they combine it with the known thermal mass of your specific house.
Wait, thermal mass?
Right, meaning how long it historically takes your HVAC system to raise the indoor temperature by, say, 3 degrees.
Oh, wow.
So it dynamically calculates the exact minute it needs to turn on the furnace. So the house reaches your perfect temperature the exact second your car pulls into the driveway.
It calculates the thermal mass of the house against real-time traffic data. That is the actual definition of ambient intelligence. Okay, so our internal climate is perfectly optimized. Let's move to the perimeter of the home. Security and access.
Yeah, a comfortable home is great, but a secure home provides baseline peace of mind. And the natural entry point here is the video doorbell, specifically models like the Ring Battery Doorbell Pro.
The tech leap in doorbells recently is staggering, to be honest. I mean, we've moved way past basic pixel-based motion detection, which, used to trigger a false alarm every time a shadow moved across your porch.
Oh, a passing car, a stray cat, a leaf falling.
Exactly. But the new standard is 3D motion detection using built-in radar.
Yeah. That radar integration is critical. Instead of just seeing flat movement, the doorbell actually emits millimeter wave radar to track the physical distance, speed, and trajectory of an object.
So it knows exactly where the object is in space.
Right. You can program it to entirely ignore a delivery truck driving by on the street, but instantly trigger if an object crosses a specific invisible threshold exactly 10 feet from your front door.
But while doorbells are great for visibility, if you really dig into the user experience discussions in the sources, the single biggest daily friction solver isn't a camera at all. It's the electronic smart lock, models like the Yale Assure or the Ultralock Bolt fingerprint.
Oh, completely.
And I completely agree with this. The value of a smart lock isn't necessarily stopping a master burglar. It's completely eliminating the mental load of wondering, did I lock the front door?
It's the automation of a chore you do multiple times a day without even thinking about it. You can lock it with a biometric fingerprint scan, but optimally, you tie it into that same geofence we talked about earlier.
Right.
The deadbolt physically engages the second your phone leaves the property line.
Exactly. But I want to talk about the wildest security gadget-making waves right now, which actually covers the interior of the home. I'm talking about the Ring Always Home Cam. This is the world's first flying indoor drone camera.
It is a radical approach to interior monitoring, I'll give it that.
It's crazy.
Because the traditional method is placing a static camera in your living room, your kitchen, your hallway. It's expensive, and frankly, it feels incredibly invasive to have glass lenses staring at you constantly.
Right. So instead of a dozen static cameras, you just have one small drone sitting in a dock.
Yeah.
If your security alarm trips or, if you're halfway to the airport and can't remember if you left the stove on, the drone lifts off, flies through your house to check, and then docks itself again.
It's very sci-fi.
It is. But from a purely technical standpoint, how does a flying camera navigate a living room without instantly crashing into a ceiling fan the second the air conditioning kicks on and changes the airflow?
It uses a technology called SLAM. That stands for Simultaneous Localization and Mapping.
Okay.
When you first set it up, you basically walk it through your home, and it uses optical flow sensors and LiDAR to build a highly accurate 3D topographical map of your entire interior space.
So it knows the layout completely.
Exactly. It doesn't fly freely either. It strictly adheres to pre-calculated flight paths, using its sensors to detect and avoid unexpected obstacles in real time, like, a dog walking through the hallway.
I understand the mapping, but I'm still super skeptical about the privacy aspect. I mean, if a drone is sitting on my kitchen counter, it still feels like there's a live camera in the room watching me eat cereal.
Which is why the design of the dock is actually its most crucial feature. When the drone lands, it drops down into a sleeve that physically covers the camera lens. Yeah. It is physically impossible for the device to record video while it is charging. It guarantees discretion when you're home, but provides that dynamic visibility when you're away.
Okay, a physical shutter block definitely solves the privacy anxiety. That's a smart engineering choice. All right, so the perimeter is locked down, and we can check the stove from the airport. But how does the house respond to us while we're actually living inside it? Let's transition to the interior ambiance.
Lighting. Lighting fundamentally dictates how a space feels, which is why smart bulbs like the Philips Hue system are usually people's very first smart home purchase.
Oh, sure.
The ability to tune white light from cool, energizing blue in the morning to warm, relaxing amber at night to match human circadian rhythms is incredibly impactful.
But anyone who has installed smart bulbs knows they come with a catastrophic usability flaw: the physical wall switch.
The dreaded wall switch.
You spend hundreds of dollars on a meticulously calibrated lighting setup, and then a guest walks into the bathroom and just flips the standard toggle switch down. The power to the bulb's Wi-Fi chip is physically cut. It drops off the network, your automations completely break, and you're left standing in the dark yelling at your voice assistant.
It is the absolute Achilles heel of smart lighting. You either have to take your switches in the up position, which looks terrible, or rewire your electrical boxes with really expensive smart switches.
Or you use a bridge device like the Abra by Intermatic Smart Lighting System. This is such an elegant fix. They make a piece of hardware called a Surface Switch.
Right.
A wireless smart switch that simply snaps right over the top of your existing toggle switch. You don't drill into the wall. You don't even have to turn off the breaker. It physically traps the old switch in the on position, keeping standby power constantly flowing to your smart bulbs while giving you a new digital button on the wall to press.
It perfectly harmonizes physical hardware with digital control. But if you look at where the automation community is heading, the ultimate goal isn't better switches.
Yeah.
The goal is no switches at all.
Right. The consensus among power users is that interacting with a switch, even a smart one, is a failure of automation.
Yeah.
They're entirely reliant on presence sensors to trigger lighting. But we have to clarify the tech here, because the old PIR passive infrared motion sensors were terrible for this.
Awful.
You'd be sitting on the couch reading a book, and because you weren't aggressively waving your arms around, the PIR sensor would think the room was empty and plunge you into darkness.
Which is exactly why the entire industry is shifting away from PIR and moving toward millimeter-wave. That's millimeter wave microradar.
Wait, the same tech we talked about in the doorbell.
Exactly. Instead of just looking for large sweeping heat signatures, millimeter wave utilizes the Doppler effect. It emits high-frequency radar waves and measures how they bounce back.
Okay.
It is so sensitive that it can detect the micro-movements of your chest rising and falling as you breathe.
That's insane.
Right. It doesn't just know if someone walked in. It knows if a human is currently occupying the space, even if they are sitting perfectly still reading a book.
That's incredible for keeping the lights on, but I have to ask the obvious question here. If a sensor is sensitive enough to track my respiration rate, what on earth is it doing with that biometric data?
It's a valid concern, definitely. But the beauty of millimeter-wave presence sensors is that the radar processing happens entirely on the local microchip within the sensor itself.
Oh, so it's not going to the cloud.
No, not at all. It doesn't send a recording of your breathing anywhere. It simply acts as a localized binary switch. It basically tells the hub state equals occupied or state equals empty. That's all the hub ever sees.
Okay, so you get the magic of a house that illuminates your path perfectly as you walk through it without sacrificing privacy. That is awesome. And that brings us to our final category. We've replaced the brain, the thermostat, the locks, and the lights. But what do we do with all the legacy hardware, the dumb appliances we already own?
This is where you leverage the smart plug. It is essentially a Wi-Fi connected relay that sits between your wall outlet and your appliance cord. Devices like the Kasa Smart Plug Mini or the TP-Link Tapo P110M are incredibly affordable ways to integrate 20th century tech into a 21st century system.
I've always called the smart plug the duct tape of the smart home.
That's a great way to put it.
But I actually read about a genius hack on one of the home automation subreddits that elevates the smart plug from a simple on-off switch to a complex sensor. Users are taking smart plugs that feature energy monitoring capabilities like that Tapo plug and hooking them up to their old standard washing machines.
Right, but to be clear, they aren't using the plug to turn the washing machine on. You still have to manually load the clothes and physically press start on the machine.
Exactly. They are using the plug strictly to monitor the electrical current draw. A standard wash cycle pulls a very specific wattage. When the cycle finishes, the machine stops pulling power. So users write a simple automation routine in their hub that says, if the wattage drawn by this plug drops below 3 watts for more than 5 minutes, trigger a push notification to my phone that says the laundry is done.
It's brilliant.
You effectively turn a 20-year-old appliance into a smart device just by analyzing its electrical footprint.
It's an incredibly clever use of data logic, but we do need to touch on the physics of electrical safety here.
Good point.
Yeah, a smart plug contains a physical mechanical relay inside it. If you attempt that washing machine hack, or if you try to automate a high-draw appliance like a space heater or window AC unit, you must ensure the smart plug is rated for the correct amperage, which is usually 15 amps or higher.
So no cheaping out on the heavy-duty stuff.
Absolutely not. If you put a heavy load on a cheap smart plug that's rated only for, like, a table lamp, the physical relay inside can fuse shut, or worse, melt and cause a fire.
Always check the amperage rating against the appliance's draw. Safety first, folks. Now, before we wrap up, we have to mention a few of the hyper-niche luxury gadgets that show just how far specialized automation has come. Things like the NetView BirdFi, which uses AI computer vision to identify over 6,000 different bird species at your feeder while actively deterring squirrels, by the way.
Or the YD Smart Teapot, which uses a rotating infuser to dynamically adjust steeping times based on the exact thermal profile of the tea leaves you are using.
That's so specific.
It is. And for the coffee aficionados, there's the XBloom Studio, which automates the grinding and pour-over process with literal microgram precision.
It really proves that as this tech matures, it isn't just about saving electricity or boosting security. It's also about optimizing joy.
Beautifully said.
So let's bring this all together for you, the listener. If you want to move past the gimmick of basic voice commands and build a home that actually thinks, you need 5 things. You need a universal hub processing intent, preferably locally. You need a thermostat utilizing geofencing and remote sensors. You need smart locks and advanced radar to seamlessly handle perimeter security. You need in-app presence sensors to trigger your lighting invisibly. And you use correctly rated smart plugs to bridge the gap with your legacy appliances.
And you know, the most practical advice I can offer is to avoid ripping everything out at once. Identify the single biggest point of friction in your daily routine. Do you constantly leave the house wondering if the door is locked? Start with the smart lock. Do you hate waking up to a cold bathroom? Start with the thermostat. Solve one physical problem completely before expanding the network.
Find the friction and automate it away. But looking at this entire landscape of ambient intelligence, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. We've talked about how micro-radar can detect our breathing and how algorithms can calculate the exact moment we'll pull into the driveway.
Yeah.
If the home perfectly anticipates our every physical need, if the doors just unlock themselves, the temperature's always exactly right, and the lights perfectly track our movements without us ever touching a switch, what happens to our own spatial muscle memory?
Oh, that's a deep question.
Right. As the environment becomes increasingly effortless, do we risk forgetting how to physically manage the spaces we live in? If the central router ever does go down, will we be left standing in the dark, suddenly realizing we no longer remember where the light switches actually are?
Wow.
Something to think about the next time your house perfectly anticipates you walking into a room.